At 5:17 local time, deep inside the Combat Direction Center, the room is dim. The screens glow hard and bright, and every voice stays calm and measured. The carrier moves steadily at 21 knots, its bow slicing smoothly through calm water. Routine flight operations are set to begin in 30 minutes. On the scopes, everything looks normal. Then, all at once, 5 radar tracks shift. Several contacts change course together. The air intercept controller leans in. The bearing changes are real. The group that had been pacing the strike group from a distance is no longer holding position. Their new heading is 090, straight in. Altitude 24,000 feet. Speed 480 knots, still climbing. Identification comes quickly. Iranian Air Force MiG 29 Fulcrums. IFF confirms it. No radio calls, no civilian frequency traffic. The tactical action officer keeps his tone even. Mark the shift. Confirm intent. The SPY-1 radar arrays sharpen the picture. What had been 5 separate returns now tightens into a deliberate formation. 4 spread wide, 1 trailing higher behind. This is not weather drift, not a simple course correction. This is disciplined formation flying. Distance 82 nautical miles. Closure rate increasing. Time to intercept at current speed, 9 minutes, the controller says flatly. Up on deck, 2 FA-18E Super Hornets sit in Alert 5 status. Their crews are already strapped in. Maintenance teams step back the moment the launch signal is passed. No rushing, no wasted movement. The Iranian formation accelerates to 520 knots. Overhead, an E-2D Hawkeye orbiting at 27,000 feet confirms another change. Contacts descending. Angels 19. That matters. High-altitude parallel flight can suggest observation. A descent makes the situation more focused. The carrier holds its course. That is standard practice. A carrier does not flinch. Set condition 3, the TAO orders. Launch alert 5. Below, in the hangar bay, ordnance crews secure loose gear. On the escorting destroyers, Aegis systems shift from passive tracking to full engagement quality solutions. Vertical launch cells remain closed. Systems are safe, but fully ready. At 64 nautical miles, electronic support measures detect radar emissions. N019 slot-back signals begin sweeping. Iranian fire control radars are active, not locked, but searching. The Air Wing commander keys the tactical net. Standard intercept. Show presence. No escalation unless locked. The catapults fire. Steam bursts skyward. The first Super Hornet launches clean, afterburners blazing against the pale morning sky. The second is airborne seconds later. Both climb hard to Angels 25, noses pointed at the incoming formation. The MiGs keep closing. 58 nautical miles. The Hawkeye updates the picture again. Fulcrum's descending now. Angels 15. That altitude brings them closer to a sea-skimming transition if they choose it. The strike group adjusts subtly. The cruiser slides 2 degrees to port. A destroyer increases speed to tighten the screen. No sharp turns, no dramatic reaction from the carrier's island. Just controlled, professional restraint. At 41 nautical miles, the American fighters establish firm radar contact. Tally 5, Fulcrum Group confirmed. The Super Hornets hold the altitude advantage. AMRAAMs are armed but cold. No fire control lock is initiated. Then the Iranian formation changes shape again. 2 aircraft ease left, 2 drift right, 1 stays high on the center line, an offensive spread, distance 33 nautical miles. Still no radio call from the Iranian side. No identification broadcast, only speed. On the flight deck, sailors glance toward the horizon as faint silhouettes begin to take shape against the morning sky. CIWS mounts rotate slightly, just enough to show readiness. Their motors hum as they settle into standby alignment. Inside the Combat Direction Center, the tactical action officer watches the geometry tighten. Log all emissions, he says quietly. 27 nautical miles. Iranian radar intensity rises. 1 MiG dips lower, down to 12,000 feet. Possible mock attack profile. The lead Super Hornet stays steady. No aggressive move. Confidence itself sends a message. 20 nautical miles. Now both sides are well inside beyond visual range missile envelopes. If either side commits to a hard lock, the timeline collapses to seconds. The air intercept controller transmits on guard frequency. Iranian aircraft, you are approaching United States naval forces in international airspace. Maintain safe separation. No reply. 15 nautical miles. The 5 Fulcrums descend again. Angels 10. Tight formation. The carrier remains steady at 21 knots. No course change, no escalation, only constant tracking. 12 nautical miles. For the first time, the American pilots can see them clearly. Twin vertical stabilizers, gray camouflage, Iranian roundels catching the early light. The distance keeps shrinking. Inside the Combat Direction Center, no one talks about the worst-case outcome. They do not need to. Everyone in that room understands exactly what it means when 5 fighters continue closing nose on toward a carrier. and they are still coming. At 5:23 local time, the distance is now 27 nautical miles, and the geometry tightens even further. Inside the Combat Direction Center, every screen is clean, every return sharply defined. The 5 MiG 29s are no longer wandering within a broad patrol arc. They are aligned, deliberate, compressed. Iranian group maintaining vector 090. The air intercept controller confirms. Speed 520 knots. The E-2D Hawkeye updates altitude again. Fulcrum's now Angels 12 descending. That descent changes everything. At this level, radar clutter against the sea increases. Timelines shrink. Reaction windows get smaller. The 2 Super Hornets level off at Angels 22, offset slightly west of the carrier's bow. They are now the visible line between 5 incoming fighters and the strike group. No weapons are locked, but every system is ready. At 24 nautical miles, the Iranian formation splits. 2 aircraft drift left, opening their spacing. 2 peel off to the right. 1 stays high along the center line. The shape shifts from a wedge into something closer to a pincer. The tactical action officer watches, face unchanged. Mark the split. Possible encirclement rehearsal. No speculation follows. Everything is logged, tracked, calculated. 21 nautical miles. Electronic support measures spike. Iranian radar activity intensifies. The electronic warfare officer calls it out. N019 operating at higher power. This is no longer a wide area scan. It's focused. The lead Super Hornet pilot keeps his aircraft steady. Now he can see them clearly. Dark gray shapes against a pale horizon. Thin contrails trail behind. 5 contacts, visual confirmed, he reports. Combat spread, no visible change in external loadout, no missile separation, no smoke trails, not yet. 18 nautical miles. The first radar spike hits. A sharp tone cuts through the cockpit. Bearing 085. The radar briefly shifts from search to track mode. Not a full lock, but close. Inside the carrier's CIC, the update comes instantly. Fulcrum 1 painting, lead Hornet. Duration 1 second. The tactical action officer gives a slight nod. They're testing. 15 nautical miles. Now well inside beyond visual range engagement distance. At this range, a missile launch would close the gap in under 40 seconds. The Super Hornets hold formation. No breakaway. Braking shows uncertainty, and uncertainty invites escalation. The air intercept controller transmits again. Iranian military aircraft, you are approaching U.S. naval forces operating in international airspace. Maintain safe separation. No response. 13 nautical miles. The high MiG drops 2,000 feet, aligning with the others. All 5 now fly level at Angels 10, a unified wedge again. 11 nautical miles. On the carrier's deck, crew members pause mid-task. The MiGs are now clearly visible, distinct shapes, twin tails, fast-moving silhouettes. CIWS mounts rotate fully into tracking position. A low mechanical hum spreads across the deck. Automatic, controlled, 9 nautical miles. Iranian formation tightening, Hawkeye reports. Range decreasing rapidly. The lead Super Hornet shifts 2 degrees to starboard, placing itself directly between the incoming aircraft and the carrier's bow. A small move, but unmistakable. If you want the carrier, you go through us. 8 nautical miles. Another spike, stronger this time. The lead Hornet receives an intermittent track lock, 2 seconds. Inside the CIC, timing matters. 2 seconds. 3 is often the line between testing and commitment. Then it drops. 7 nautical miles. The right side aircraft dip lower. Angels, 8. The left holds at 10. The center climbs slightly, maintaining overwatch. Pressure from multiple levels. 6 nautical miles. The carrier continues at 21 knots. No change in speed, no turn. That restraint is deliberate. Sudden movement could be misinterpreted. Misinterpretation leads to escalation. 5 nautical miles. Close enough now to see fine detail. Pilots can make out cockpit canopies, helmet reflections, control surfaces adjusting in real time. The lead Iranian aircraft dips its nose briefly, an attack geometry, then levels out again. A test. The Super Hornet pilot doesn't react. 4 nautical miles. On the cruiser, Aegis systems calculate firing solutions continuously. Launch cells remain closed. Weapons safe, but ready. 3.5 nautical miles. The MiGs accelerate slightly. Afterburners flicker. Orange shock diamonds flashing briefly. The sea below ripples under the jet wash. 3 nautical miles. This is close-range territory. A missile launched here would reach its target in under 20 seconds. Inside the CIC, the tactical action officer speaks evenly. If a hard lock holds, we escalate. No one asks what that means. They already know. 2.8 nautical miles. The 5 MiGs tighten even more. Wings nearly overlapping. Precision, control, nerve. 2.5 nautical miles. The formation rolls subtly, not away, but inward toward the carrier's bow. The distance shrinks. The sky goes quiet. 5:26 local time. Range, 2.5 nautical miles. The lead MiG banks sharply left. Afterburner ignites in a sudden flash. It cuts across the nose of the lead Super Hornet at less than 1,000 yards. Fast, close, intentional. Inside the American cockpit, the pilot holds steady. No brake, no flares, no sudden climb, just course and control. The second MiG mirrors the move on the opposite side, crossing wider but just as close. The two outer aircraft stretch the intercept line for a brief moment, testing reaction time. Behind them, the remaining three tighten up. Altitude now Angels 8. The ocean glints below. Inside the carrier's combat direction center, every movement is tracked precisely. Lead MiG crossing within 1,000 yards of Hornet 1. Starboard element offset 2,000 yards. Center aircraft descending. Angels 6. That descent matters. At Angels 6, a fighter is closer to sea-skimming profile. A launch from there shortens warning time and reduces reaction margins. The tactical action officer focuses on the center track, marks center aircraft, possible simulated attack profile. At 2.1 nautical miles from the carrier's perimeter, the center MiG rolls inverted. Smooth, controlled. Then it dives. For 2 seconds, its nose points directly toward the carrier's forward deck. Inside the Super Hornet cockpit, the radar warning receiver flashes red. This time, the tone is different. Not search, not a brief sweep, a hard lock, a full fire control quality lock. At this distance, the time from lock to a possible missile launch is under 4 seconds. Inside the American cockpit, the pilot's right hand shifts closer to the throttle detent. His left thumb rests near weapon select. He does not fire. He holds. The lock stays for 1 long second, then a second. Inside the combat direction center, the only sound is the warning tone carried over the tactical net. If sustained for 3 seconds, escalate. The 3rd second never arrives. The lock breaks. The diving MiG levels out at roughly 1,000 feet above the water and tears across the carrier's bow at high speed, skimming low and fast. Shockwaves ripple across the ocean surface. On the flight deck, sailors feel the vibration before they fully register what just happened overhead. Loose tie-down chains rattle. A stack of light gear shifts and is caught quickly by deck crew. The fulcrum screams past and then climbs hard after crossing the bow. No missile, no cannon fire. Just distance so close it barely feels real. At the same moment, the other 4 MiGs widen their spacing. The left element breaks outward by 5 degrees. The right mirrors it. The high aircraft climbs back to Angels 10. It is coordinated, not chaotic. This is not loss of control, it is choreography. The 2 Super Hornets reposition immediately, sliding back into place between the Iranian fighters and the carrier's projected path. Their radars stay active. AMRAAM rails remain aligned. Inside the cruiser's Aegis compartment, engagement quality solutions refresh in real time. If a missile had left a rail, interceptors would have followed within seconds. The vertical launch cells remain closed, weapons still cold, every solution ready. Closest point of approach, 1.8 nautical miles from the carrier's bow. That number matters. Inside 2 nautical miles, a supersonic missile leaves almost no reaction time. The tactical action officer speaks calmly over the internal net. Document closest approach. Confirm no ordnance release. Confirmed. No missile separation. No gunfire observed. Above the carrier, the high Iranian element arcs wide and rejoins the group. All 5 aircraft now bank east. Not attacking. Disengaging. The Super Hornet's shadow from offset. Careful not to press too hard. The mission is still deterrence, not dominance. The distance begins to open again. 2 miles, then 3. Electronic support measures show radar emissions dropping, N019 power levels decreasing. No fire control lock detected. The carrier keeps its course, 21 knots. No turn, no burst of speed. That steadiness is deliberate. In a tense intercept, sudden maneuvering can be read the wrong way. Holding steady forces the other side to show intent first. 5 nautical miles of separation. The Iranian formation tightens into echelon and climbs through Angels 12. Afterburners flare briefly as they push eastbound. Still no radio transmission, no acknowledgement, just departure. Inside the combat direction center, the engagement clock stops. Time from first hard lock to disengagement, less than 30 seconds. Time from initial descent to closest pass, 3 minutes, 14 seconds. Total time inside the critical envelope, under 5 minutes. The tactical action officer closes the immediate threat log. Carrier secure. Continue shadow until 40 nautical miles. No applause, no visible release of tension, just quiet professionalism, because everyone in that room understands how narrow the margin was. At 2 nautical miles, with 2 seconds of sustained radar lock, the line between a warning and a catastrophe is almost invisible. This time, no one crossed it. 5:29 local time. Range increasing 5 nautical miles. The Iranian formation continues eastbound, climbing through Angels 12. Afterburners flicker once, then fade. The shape that had compressed so tightly only moments earlier now stretches back into standard cruise spacing. Inside the Combat Direction Center, no one relaxes yet. Maintain track. Do not assume full disengagement, the Tactical Action Officer says evenly. The two Super Hornets remain offset between the fulcrums and the carrier's projected path. Their radars stay hot, weapons armed, safety still in place. Electronic support measures continue recording every emission. N019 power output decreasing, the Electronic Warfare Officer reports. Fire control mode no longer detected. That matters. Search radar can be posturing. Fire control radar means intent. At 7 nautical miles, the high Iranian element drifts slightly above the others, keeping overwatch altitude. The lower 4 stabilize at Angels 15. No aircraft breaks formation. No sudden turn back toward the strike group. Still, every bearing shift is logged. The cruiser's Aegis suite continues calculating intercept solutions automatically. Even as the distance grows, engagement quality tracks remain solid. Vertical launch cells stay closed. Missiles remain cold. But the system does not forget. 10 nautical miles. High above, the Hawkeye recalculates closure. Fulcrum group accelerating eastbound. Speed 550 knots, separation increasing. The carrier remains at 21 knots. No pursuit. That restraint is intentional. Chasing a disengaging formation can turn a retreat into a new confrontation. The lead Super Hornet pilot keys the tactical frequency. Iranian aircraft departing east. No further hostile maneuver observed. He does not thank them. He does not provoke. He simply states what is happening. From the flight deck, the MiGs are already shrinking into the morning haze. Deck crews return to controlled movement, securing tie-downs, resetting catapult steam pressure, confirming ordnance status. But their eyes still check the horizon. 12 nautical miles. The Tactical Action Officer reviews the timeline. Closest approach to carrier, 1.6 nautical miles. Hard radar lock duration, 2 seconds sustained. No weapons release observed. The numbers are exact. Exactness matters. In a modern aerial confrontation, perception can move faster than any weapon. Logs, recordings, and sensor data shape the story as much as the maneuvers themselves. 15 nautical miles. The Electronic Warfare Officer confirms the final radar fade. Iranian emissions now intermittent, likely transitioning to cruise mode. The strike group's geometry loosens slightly. The destroyer eases back to standard screen spacing. CIWS mounts spool down from high alert posture. The faint mechanical hum across the deck begins to fade. 20 nautical miles. The Hawkeye continues surveillance until the fulcrums pass 40 nautical miles of separation. Standard shadow protocol. Inside the CIC, the tension does not vanish all at once. It eases in small steps, replaced by quiet routine. Logs are time-stamped. Emission signatures are archived. Video feeds are stored. Every second of the intercept has been captured from multiple angles. Radar, infrared, cockpit footage, deck cameras. Data becomes deterrence. At 25 nautical miles, the Super Hornets begin a measured reposition. They do not tail aggressively. They hold an offset track, signaling awareness without pursuit. Professional distance, 30 nautical miles. The fulcrums are now at Angels 18, continuing eastbound. No further deviation, Hawkeye confirms. The Tactical Action Officer gives a single nod. Return cap to standard orbit. The Super Hornets climb smoothly, widening their turn as they settle back into their assigned patrol lanes above the strike group. The carrier never changed course, and that matters. Holding steady under pressure sends a clear message. Intimidation won't alter operations. At 40 nautical miles, the Iranian radar picture fades into routine traffic beyond the immediate zone. Inside the Combat Direction Center, the critical phase officially ends. Total duration of the intercept window, 12 minutes, 41 seconds. Time spent inside 2 nautical miles, under 1 minute. Weapons launched, 0. The Tactical Action Officer delivers the final call. Strike group secure, resume standard posture, no celebration follows, no announcements, just a controlled return to routine. On deck, flight operations pick up exactly where they left off. Another launch cycle begins, engines spool, steam pressure stabilizes, movements become familiar again. But nothing about the last 12 minutes was ordinary. At 2 nautical miles with just 2 seconds of sustained radar lock, the gap between a show of force and real conflict shrinks to something measured in heartbeats. This time, distance increased. This time, both sides disengaged. The carrier moved forward unchanged. 5:41 local time. The air picture is clear again. 5 MiG 29s continue eastbound, now beyond 40 nautical miles and still increasing separation. Their radar signatures settle into routine cruise patterns. No second approach, no deviation. Inside the Combat Direction Center, the immediate threat board is cleared. But the analysis begins immediately. Every second is replayed. Radar tracks rewind across the displays. Bearing shifts, altitude changes, speed increases, formation splits. Each move is reviewed without commentary. Precise, methodical, replay hard lock event, the tactical action officer says. The timeline narrows to a 3-second window. 2 seconds of sustained fire control quality lock. 1 more second would have crossed the escalation threshold. That isn't guesswork, that's protocol. The electronic warfare team isolates the exact signature of the Iranian N019 radar during the lock. Frequency, pulse rate, signal strength. Every detail is cataloged and stored. Radar fingerprints matter. In modern air operations, recognition can be the difference between reaction and delay. Up on the bridge, the carrier's captain receives the report. He listens without interruption. Carrier maintained course, he asks. Yes, sir. No deviation. That detail carries weight. Turning away can be seen as yielding. Overreacting can look aggressive. Holding steady projects control. On the flight deck, maintenance crews inspect the 2 Super Hornets. No damage, no contact. Just heat stress along leading edges from aggressive maneuvering. The pilots move straight into debrief. Describe the dive profile. The lead pilot answers calmly. He rolled inverted, nose down. Maintained attack alignment for about 2 seconds. No missile release observed. How close? Under 1,000 yards lateral separation during bow crossing. Exact numbers. No exaggeration. Across the strike group, escort ships submit their logs. Aegis systems confirm that engagement solutions were ready but never activated. SM-2 and ESSM interceptors remained on standby. CIWS tracked but never fired. No exchange, just full readiness. The Hawkeye crew provides altitude charts showing the coordinated descent of all 5 aircraft before the closest pass. It wasn't random, it was structured. A test of layered defenses, a measure of reaction time, an evaluation of posture under pressure, and the strike group did the same in return. Every radar emission, every altitude change, every acceleration spike, captured, stored, analyzed. Back in Washington, no immediate public statement is made. That silence is deliberate. Not every confrontation needs attention. Sometimes deterrence works best when it isn't amplified. On the carrier, operations continue on schedule. A planned training sortie launches at 6:10. The rhythm of the flight deck returns. But the memory stays. Everyone on deck felt the shockwave when the MiG crossed the bow. Everyone inside the CIC heard the shift when radar moved from search to track. They know how close it was. At 2 nautical miles, a missile launch would demand an immediate response. At that range, timelines collapse. Seconds from lock to launch, less than 20 seconds to impact. And beyond that, outcomes become unpredictable. But today, no missile left a rail. The Iranian aircraft turned away before crossing that final line. Why? Only their pilots know for sure. Maybe it was calculated. Maybe the objective was demonstration. Maybe they saw that the strike group held firm. Professional forces understand boundaries. They test them. They approach them. But crossing them changes everything. The tactical action officer finalizes the report. Closest approach, 1.6 nautical miles. Hard radar lock, 2 seconds sustained. Weapons released, 0. He pauses, then adds one final line. Outcome, no escalation. That phrase carries weight, because escalation rarely begins with something obvious. It starts in seconds, inside radar tones, altitude changes, and geometry that shifts from parallel to direct. This time, the difference between confrontation and combat came down to restraint. 5 MiG 29s close to within 2 nautical miles of a U.S. aircraft carrier. Then, they turned away. The carrier never changed course. No flares, no missiles, no warning shots, just presence and control. The ocean remains calm, but everyone on board understands one thing clearly. If those 5 radar tracks shift like that again, the margin could be even thinner, and the time to decide even shorter. For now, the carrier continues forward, steady at 21 knots.